Hello, class of EDU 1107. My name is Jovante Johnson. I am a PE teacher in the Pinellas County area. For today's discussion, my topic of choice is the social interaction, and I will be elaborating on Vygotsky, who was a psychologist who created the socio-cultural theory. Hope you guys enjoy the presentation. So today's learning goals or learning objectives, by the time this presentation is over with, you guys will be able to define social interaction and understand how it relates to the classroom of today. I want you guys to be able to identify and explain the different themes of Vygotsky's theory. And last but not least, I want you guys to be able to explain the differences in the theory between Vygotsky versus Piaget, who was also a psychologist, and I will explain more about her in later slides. So before I dive off into social interaction and tell you everything about what that was, I would like to first introduce you guys to Lev Vygotsky, the psychologist who created the social cultural theory. Lev Vygotsky was born November 17, 1896 in the western region of Russian Empire. Vygotsky graduated with a degree in law in 1917 from Moscow State University, where he studied a range of subjects including psychology, sociology, and philosophy. Lev Vygotsky became a psychologist who made a great contribution in the fields of child development and cognitive psychology. During Lev's social-cultural theory, he proposed two different themes, one being zone of proximal development, also known as ZPD, the other being more knowledgeable other, also known as MKO. Social interaction. Social interaction is defined as the process by which we act and react to those around us. Vygotsky's social cultural theory of human learning describes learning as a social process and the origination of human intelligence in society or culture. The major theme of Vygotsky's theoretical framework is that social interaction plays a fundamental role in the development of cognition. Lev Vygotsky broke down social interaction into four different key concepts. Key concept number one was that social interaction plays a central role in cognitive development. Key concept number two is that social learning precedes development. And key concept number three, language accelerates cognitive development. And key concept number four is that self-initiated discovery and collaborative dialogue aid in a child's cognitive development. Now, Lev Vygotsky, he really believed that children learn more between peer conversation. He believed that they obtain more information by talking with an adult or just conversation period, rather than reading information out of a textbook or having teachers read to a child. He believed that children obtain more information between conversation. As I stated in the previous slides, Lev created two major themes. I believe there were more than two, but the major themes that he created, one being the zone of proximal development, also known as ZPD, is an area of learning that occurs when a person is assisted by a teacher or peer with a higher skill set. The concept of ZPD is widely used to study children's mental development as it relates to education. A teacher or more experienced peer is able to provide the learner with scaffolding to support the student's evolving understanding of knowledge domains or development of complex skills. Now I have scaffolding in parentheses because it was kind of like a runoff or um, another way to define ZPD. And I will go into detail about scaffolding more in my next slide. One example of children using ZPD is when they learn to speak. Um, as as their speech develops, it influences the way the child thinks, which in return influences the child's manner of speaking. Now, in the illustration that I have on this slide, this is what Vygotsky determined. In the first circle, what I can do. Second circle stands for what I can do with help. And last circle is what I can't do. And this is how he proposed the zone of proximal development. Scaffolding. Scaffolding kind of goes hand in hand with ZPD. Scaffolding is known as the support and assistance provided for learning and problem solving, such as verbal cues or prompts, visual highlighting, diagrams, checklists, reminders, modeling, and learning charts. When children are in this zone of proximal development, providing them with the appropriate assistance and tools gives students what they need to accomplish the new task or skill. Eventually, the scaffolding can be removed and the student will be able to complete the task independently. Scaffolding entails changing the quality and quantity of support provided to a child in the course of a teaching session. As the child gains more or becomes more familiar with the task and becomes more skilled at it, the instructor may then provide less guidance. The second theme of the socio-cultural theory is known as the more knowledgeable other, also called the MKO, and this is pretty self-explanatory. MKO refers to someone who has a better understanding or higher ability level than the learner with respect to a particular task, process, or concept. MKO is more knowledgeable other who provides the critical guidance and instruction during the sensitive learning period. While a child might not yet be capable of doing something on their own, they are able to perform the task with assistance of a skilled instructor. MKO is normally thought of as being a teacher, a coach, an older adult, but the MKO could also be your peers, a younger person, or even computer technology. Now, I wanted to bring up Jean Piaget theory because she was also a psychologist who proposed kind of the same thing as Vygotsky, the way children cognitively develop. And I just wanted to contrast the two. Vygotsky did not break down development into a series of predetermined stages as Piaget did, and she had a very big emphasis on this. If you look up her theory, you see that her theory is broken down into age groups, something that Vygotsky did not believe in. Vygotsky stressed an important role that culture plays, suggesting cultural differences can have a dramatic effect on development. Piaget's theory suggests that development is largely universal. Piaget's theory focuses on a great deal of attention on peer interaction, while Vygotsky's theory stresses the importance of more knowledgeable adults and peers. Vygotsky's theory heavily stressed the role that language and development, something that Piaget largely ignored. And there were a couple of differences that I have on the illustration along with this slide, and I will let you guys take a minute to look over that. So that is the end of my presentation. I really do hope you guys enjoyed what I had to offer. Now I want to open it up for discussion. Just a couple of questions for you guys, something to think about. Question number one, how can you relate Vygotsky's theory to American education of today? Question number two, how does social experiences become part of an individual's way of thinking? Again, I would like to thank you guys, and I hope you really enjoyed my presentation.